Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
There's power that we don't expect in the short form of film and in the filmmaking itself. And if you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean you're in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of industry professionals and pick their brains about current projects, state of the industry, how they got started, and so very much more in a light and conversational fashion. And if you like how we do things over here, and, well, you're listening to us right now, so we hope that you do, you can subscribe to this podcast. You can find us over at Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google, basically wherever all your podcasts are found. Plus, you can find every single one of our episodes archived over at our YouTube channel. Also, we'd really love it if you'd follow us on social media. You can do that on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at either at In the Seats or at It's Podcast One for all sorts of updates. And finally, and I do dare say most importantly, please pay us a visit over at In the Seats, intheseats.ca for all the latest and greatest movie news and reviews from the world of film, television, and, well, anything else we can think of. We love writing about and talking about the moving image, and we love it when you read about it, so please pay us a visit. On this episode, we've got a special one. We've got some Oscar nominees, and not Oscar nominees in the past. We've got people nominated for Oscars this year. That is right. And it's in the subject of Best Documentary Short Form, and it's for a powerful piece called Colette, which tells the story of Colette Marin-Catherine, who, as a young member of the French Resistance, fought the Nazis. And ever since 1945, she has refused to set foot in Germany because of the things that she experienced. But that changes when a young history student named Lucie enters her life and encourages her to visit the concentration camp where the Nazis killed her brother. It's from director Anthony Giacchino, and it's really a powerful piece of work, and it really does sort of capture sort of the inexplicable emotion of sort of being at a concentration camp and experiencing those things, and it's one of those things that really does need to be seen, and it is playing in several virtual cinemas across North America as a part of the Oscar Shorts block, which the documentary, the animated, and the live action, they're all out there somewhere. So if you want to go check out all the short films that are nominated for Oscars this year, I do suggest you do that. But we got the distinct pleasure to sit down not only with Anthony but with his producer Alice Doyard, just about the making of the film, how they got started, the importance of it, sort of the impact it's had on all their lives and on other people's lives, and sort of, you know, the real personal journey that they all went on telling this story of Colette. And it's one that I do recommend. Again, I can't recommend enough that you block out some time to check this out. It's a real powerful piece of filmmaking, and it is a reminder of the importance of short film out there in the world, which does not always get the due that it deserves. But enough of my yammering. Let's talk with Anthony and Alice about their wonderful film, and thanks again for listening. So, now, I mean, obviously, just to start, congratulations to you both on the film. I absolutely...
Thank you.
I loved it, and I mean, I related to it because I've been on a similar journey, and I mean, with family members and friends, and I'm kind of curious, what was I guess maybe sort of the inspiration for the film, and how did you ultimately find Colette?
I'm going to give that one to Alice.
Thank you, Anthony.
I'll tell you, David, it's kind of a joke between us because it's like, this is obviously kind of like, you know, always this contextual question. We've kind of come up with a system where I pretty much start the answer, but we're going to today, just for the heck of mixing it up.
Do it.
Yeah.
So we turn, like now I'm going to start. And we find Colette by serendipity. Like we were with Anthony on the landing beaches in Normandy. Anthony is passionate about history and was making portraits about heroes of World War II. And I am passionate about resistant women. And I was working there with Anthony about these portraits. And we are told by our tour guide, Christophe Gosselin, in Normandy, that he knows a woman called Colette, who's an extraordinary character. And so Anthony and I, and we were with our DP, Rose Bush, we said, we want to see this woman. So I made contact with her, and we found this incredible fighter, a woman that with a tone that none others, very authoritative, but also very tender, with vivid memory of the war, with all the story of her brother that she wanted to pay tribute to. And we were seduced by this woman. And we thought we want to go with her on a journey where we can show to people how a fighter she was during the war, but also how a combatant woman she is still now.
That's absolutely lovely. And I mean, like you don't sort of find those people every day. Like you say, it's serendipity. I mean, was she open to the idea? Because I mean, especially in the film, like obviously she wants to pay tribute, but at the same time, she has to be willing to show those uncomfortable moments as well. Like, was she willing to submit to the entire process?
Yeah, I was going to say, well, yes, eventually, after 6 months of discussions, for real, 6 months. There were a couple of things, a couple of reasons why she wanted to do it. One was because she did want to pay tribute to her brother, Jean-Pierre, right? And the second reason was because there was this bond of trust that was built over time, where there were long discussions about if we made this journey, how would you want to do it? What would make sense to you? We knew we couldn't just go there and just say, here's the spot where it happened, and then that would be it, right? I mean, it was like, what would be the point of that? There had to be a deeper meaning. So that came out in many, many months of discussion between Alice and Colette. And then, so I had actually known the concentration camp, Dora. I had been there. It was another sort of bit of serendipity. In fact, Rose and I were at that concentration camp visiting that before we went to Normandy, and then first heard of Colette. So I had been in contact with people there. And, one of my contacts there, I suggested at least talk to her and just sort of see, first of all, would it be okay if we do this? If we could figure out how to get her back there, what would they think about that? Would that be okay with them? And then in their discussions, that sort of led to, there's this interesting project that's going on. There's an historian in France who brings students to Dora every year. You should probably talk to him. And then in Elise's discussions with the historian there, that's sort of where Lucie is found. And Lucie was the key third part for Colette, was that she wanted to help Lucie with research and help, tell the story that eventually ended up in that book, which detailed the 9,000 deportees. Right. So for Colette, it sort of made sense on a few levels, and it wasn't just sort of an easy decision. Hey, you want to go? Okay, let's go, and then we go. There's a lot of work involved.
I'm sure. And I mean, something about the film that really did strike me was that it wasn't necessarily focused on hitting us with historical facts or sort of numbers of events. It was very much focused on the people and the moment. And I mean, from both your perspectives, how important was it for this not to be a historical document, but rather more of like a humanistic document, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think it was extremely important. I mean, we weren't setting out we wanted to say something about the past for sure. Right? Because number one is that you obviously have to understand that past to figure out like why they're going on this journey. But we also wanted to make clear that past matters today. And why does it matter today? I couldn't say that we thought that there was going to be some ratio like, 12% archival and,
Right.
the rest was going to be verite. It wasn't like that, but we were interested in Colette and sort of her facing her own past and this story, but also Lucie in wanting to help preserve this. But we do feel that it's very much a film about the now, right? Elise, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, this is a film about where the story is important, so that we tell a part of French history, but also a global history. That this alliance of the Allied people trying to fight fascism is one of the good thing we did collectively to fight evil, and it has echoes, it resonates to the world of today. But also we wanted to talk about how people, individual, live through history and live through their own journey with of memories, and it's Colette and Lucie, they are, but let's say particularly Colette, she's leading the story. Of course, everything is fact-checked, and the film is distributed by The Guardian, and we're very happy with this. And it's a film about history. But we were very careful with Anthony to put the Colette at the center of how the story would be told. And we asked Colette how she would express, and so that's why she allowed us to be so close to her emotion.
And I would also add is that there's an interesting tension also in the film that kind of goes to what you're saying, is that that we play with, and it's that, for Colette, for 75 years, she wanted to forget this, right? And there was this idea that in order for her to be able to survive and just get on with life, she had to forget this. But for Lucie, it's the opposite. She believes that we need to remember this in order to survive, whether that be, as a species, so that something like this doesn't come again. So it's kind of this tension between, forgetting forgetting so you can survive, and remembering so you can survive. So that's why I also kind of,
Yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there is, you also play with that visually as well. I mean, just with some of the shots with them walking through the field, but you're far away, and it sort of gives it sort of the grander scale of remembering that she's the one who survived and these things happened all around her. It's the ghosts of everything around her in that moment, which really sort of makes the impact on the viewer. And I mean, when you're sort of, because I mean, obviously as a documentary, you don't want to manufacture the shot too much. Is it just a question of just sort of laying back in the background and trying to sort of find the right shot for the right moment?
I don't know if you can feel it when you're watching it, but I can say, and I think Elise would agree with me, that being there on site, really on any, whether it was in the crematorium, whether it was in Block 7, in the tunnel, it's all around you. You feel the weight of the past.
Yeah.
As you're standing there in the present, it's inescapable. I hope that came across, in the film. If not, sort of that you kind of feel that at least through Lucie and Colette, right? We sort of just hope that would somehow transcend, the image to some kind of a feeling that people would have as they were watching this. I don't know if it was successful or not, but I still, when I watch it still, I certainly am taken, back to when we were filming there, and and the importance of those locations to preserve that kind of history.
Because if I may add something, Dave, is that indeed we were the whole crew, while filming the story, even though we have this distance a bit to be able to tell the story, but we were fundamentally changed by this experience and this time of filming on the site of a concentration camp with Colette, who had lost her brother there, and Lucie, who was a young witness. We were all very much moved by this filming. So we hope our audience is moved too, of course.
Oh, absolutely. It definitely comes through in the filmmaking, and you can feel the weight of the moment. And I mean, I think that's sort of that inexplicable moment, which really does come through, which, like I said previously, like you can't try to verbalize it. You just have to sort of see it and witness it. And I think the film really does capture that very beautifully. And I mean, I guess that kind of dovetails into something else I'd like to ask, because I'm always curious, like whenever I get to talk to people like you, I'm always curious to find out sort of what got them started, like why they wanted to sort of be in this business of making films and telling stories. Like, I'm kind of curious for sort of that pivotal, like sort of foundational moment in their lives. Was it a movie? Was it sort of a moment, or was it a piece of work in their lives that sort of made them sort of go off into this direction?
I'm kind of laughing at your question, because there are many times when I ask myself, why am I even doing this? Do you know what I mean? Like, why am I even involved in this business? I kind of feel it's too late for me now. But I'll just continue.
I'm with you. I'm screwed too. So yeah.
Yes. So I do think about that. Yes, I would say, like, though, for me, it's the ability. Number one, the real reason why I continue is it's the ability to be able to tell stories about history, about the past. I'm just fascinated and obsessed with telling stories from the past, but it was, I think for myself, it was very, very organic. And I have I'm gonna just show you something, because I scanned this for someone just recently. Hold on. I know we're not. You see this picture? Actually, you know what? Can I share my screen?
I think you can. Yeah. I'm not
actually. If you can, if you go to screen sharing.
Oh, share screen.
Go to screen sharing, and they say allow others.
Multiple participants. Okay. I think that was it.
Okay. Hold on one sec. Here we go. All right. Ready? I'm gonna share my screen.
We're going multimedia.
What is it going to be?
Here we go. Ready? Okay. That is me on my high school graduation. And you see, I'm holding a tape recorder in my hand.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
And in the other hand, I'm holding the best history student, basically, of my graduating class. And I took that tape recorder from my junior year on and just was constantly documenting me, my friends, just silly things. And I have like well over 100, close to 200 cassette tapes still.
Wow.
And I just was doing that from high school just because it was fun. I liked sort of small, pointless moments just to kind of like, capture them and all that kind of stuff. And I think that just is why I'm doing it. You know what I mean? I didn't realize then that this is what I would end up doing, but it kind of, I think, started. It started then, and I dug this out for actually a reporter from the Philadelphia Inquirer we were talking to, because he asked the same question, and I just sort of went back to this, and it's anyway. That's what I would say for me. I've always loved history and was trying to document in my own way.
I love it.
Yeah, I'll just say. A proud mother looking at the best history student in the world. You can see that graduation.
Yoo-hoo!
Yes, and my tape recorder. So I think that's my answer.
So on my side, it's not very far away from Anthony. I would say that I've always been a very full of imagination since I'm very young, and telling stories and loving to hear stories. And but the probably the drive that took me to this profession today is the will to give the voice to people who are moving me. And sometimes I'm overwhelmed by the emotions of people around me, and it can be a burden. But apparently in this job, it is an asset.
For sure.
And so I try to, and I feel good when I can give the voice to people who have a story that touches me and that I believe can touch the others.
No, I love that, and you're absolutely right. And now I've got to get to the elephant in the room question, because I mean, you've been nominated, obviously, congratulations. But
thank you.
This year, are you going to get to go? What's going to happen? Like, it feels like for the one time, like you get nominated for an Oscar, it's like, oh, but
I feel like the easy answer is we planned that. We planned to be nominated the year that maybe there might not be something happening and stuff. That's the only answer I think that would suffice. I know. Well, look, the year has been ups and downs, certainly. I'll say this about that. Our intention is obviously to be there, right? They want people there.
Steven Soderbergh say, if you can come, please come. So this is what we're going to do.
Yes. So that's the intention. But there is, for me, a silver lining in this time period that we're living in, with specific regard to this and the nomination. Is that so? As everything moved on to Zoom and all of that stuff, just to make meetings easier and all that stuff. We also, like, Colette has been part of this campaign in a way that she may not have been otherwise. She's done Q&As, she's done events. We just did one with Alliance Française, the French Institute in New York. We did live events with The Guardian. We did something with the LA Times. And it was all because we were able to connect, online. And so she's been a part of this. And I'm not so sure that would have happened had we not been in this. So that's sort of, for me, is sort of the positive in all of this. Whether we go and all that, that's a question we intend. I don't think it's all bad.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And I mean, just to maybe put a bow on this for both of you, because we live in such a unique time where we're consuming more media and more entertainment, and we're consuming different types of film and entertainment. And in the history of cinema, like, it always feels like short film doesn't necessarily get the representation it deserves. And I'm kind of curious, from both your perspectives, how important is the medium of short film just to the film world in general? Because a lot of people will, again, like I say, not necessarily give it sort of the recognition it deserves, but it has a very clear-cut place in sort of the history of the medium.
The stepchild of stepchildren is what I like to call the category. So go ahead, Elise.
Yes, but what I want to say that indeed you're right, Dave. I believe that this time of the pandemic, where theaters are closed or have been closed for long, and we are still closed in many parts of the world today. It's watching a film on a platform, on a website, has become something very natural. And we don't always have time for a long, an hour long, or even more, a full feature length movie or documentary. But so it gives room to short documentaries who still tell a story, which still tell a story, but in a shorter period of time. And this might be indeed a place where this category flourishes.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, it reminds me of, like, sometimes you'll go to read an article and it'll just say it'll only take you 6 minutes to read this. Like, we are in such a time conscious right? Society and time conscious world. Twitter, for God's sakes, right? I mean, like, how short, quickly can you say something that sort of would get attention? So I do think that the world we're living in is certainly ready to embrace short films. Yeah, and why not? As Elise says, I mean, if you can get a message across, and as we do in 24 minutes, hopefully and effectively. I would look. I have a list of probably 5 or 6 things that I would love to make short films on.
Yeah.
Love. But they're also, I think, maybe harder to make, right? Because how can you boil that down to the essence in minutes? I mean, I remember when we just finished this, that 24 minutes was almost too long for some festivals. Not that it like disqualified, but we were getting like advice from just people like, festivals really want to kind of keep it in the 12 to 16 minute range. And I was just kind of thinking how crazy that was. I was like, but anyway, it's a challenge, but I would be happy to, as I say, I have like 5 or 6 other ideas that I think would be beautiful as shorts. I think the world is sort of ready for them.
I think you're absolutely right, and I mean, it's wild that you brought that up. I wasn't, because festivals do think in blocks, and it's like, 24 is too long. How am I going to fit? It's over. It's like, it's one of those things that people never think about.
We could not. Sometimes we simply could not apply to festivals in Europe because there was no category for us.
That's wild.
Yeah.
But you know what? I mean, it's obviously, it's been out in the world now for a while. It's nominated. It's playing as a part of the block in virtual cinemas in various locations, and people are going to get more of a chance to see it. And I've seen them all. Yours is definitely my favorite. And thank you so much.
That's nice.
Thank you. And this was an absolute delight. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you, David. I'm glad we got to connect.
For sure. Thanks again, guys, and good luck, and thanks again for the film, and stay safe and all that other stuff, I guess. But
and thank you for this brilliant conversation, Dave. Thank you. We love your patience.
Well, thank you very much. And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.